it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die podcast, man. This is the post-game version of the podcast. Washington is 1-0. 1-0, man. AJ and Dre is in here. I'm gonna get AJ back into the fold in a second. A crazy, I wouldn't even say crazy. Crazy is not a way to describe this game. It was a very frustrating yet fulfilling game for several reasons. But I'm gonna get the floor to Dre and AJ. I see he's good now, so okay. Let me get Dre. Let me get AJ in here, my bad.
Hey man, got me out here looking like I'm about to rob somebody in Navy Yard or something.
Hey, look like a true Southeast goon, bro. I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? Doing your thing, bro.
Waiting to get my hair retwisted. You feel me?
Yeah, bro. Ain't nothing wrong with a little cap, bro. Everybody got locks. Understand it, bro.
Hey man, let's get this rolling, man.
All right, man. All right, fellas, man. How y'all doing? Let's check in with y'all, and then obviously, your quick thoughts on the game as we begin to dive into it.
Well, I mean, we got the win. That's all you can ask for. Week one, it does feel like we were cheated a little bit because you expected a better performance coming out against the Cardinals this week. You thought this would have been fired up. I mean, they came out in the first quarter, which was pretty good, man. But overall, man, I'm trying to process how I feel. But at the end of the day, you got to be happy with a W, man.
Let me try to, AJ, you got the floor in a second. Let me try to remember this because I do this on Twitter, but I want to do this for the game as well. So, for the show as well. So let's try to do this every single week. I'll try to remember it, but one sentence takeaway as well. Like I do this online. I want to get our one sentence takeaways to start the show as well. AJ, because you're up next. That's your responsibility. You got the floor on the first one. What's your one sentence takeaway? And then we'll spin the block.
I think I'll go with off the top of my head, emotional roller coaster, like the Vivian Green's song back in the day, R&B classic. I think it was an emotional roller coaster because you have all of these legends coming back for the first time in a very long time, such as the RG3s, the Champ Baileys, the Sonny Jurgensens. They might have even brought some people back from the dead today to visit the Legends Plaza. New ownership, the first game under the new ownership group, Eric Bieniemy's debut with Washington. But then at the same token, like the weather of the game that we viewed was up and down. It was raining, it was sunny, it was raining, it was sunny again. I just think it was an emotional roller coaster because coming into this, a lot of the fan base believed that Washington is so much greater of a team than the Cardinals. But like I've been saying on social media, and I said on our last show, like they ain't no slouches, you feel me? I'm actually impressed by the job Jonathan Gannon did. Like he had his team locked in. Them boys was hitting, even if you don't agree with the penalties. If you wanted ejections or you felt like they were playing reckless, whatever, them boys was out there hitting. They didn't care about the penalties per se. They wanted Washington to feel that they were there, that they were present. And they played like that the entire game, And you also got to factor in Dobbs literally just got to Arizona Friday in a sense. You feel me? He got traded on August 25th from the Browns to the Cardinals, and he's entrenched as their starting quarterback. So, I mean, that's my one-liner, but I guess, as we get deeper in the conversation, we'll touch on different things, how we viewed the game overall.
Shout out to Yak for checking in. Everybody, man, appreciate y'all checking in live. If you listen on the podcast, make sure you hit that follow button and give us a little rating and review as well as we keep pushing forward on the YouTube side. Man, hit that follow, that like button, that subscribe button as well. I appreciate you checking in. Yak gave us a 5, said, relax, give the offense 5 games before the crucifixion occurs. I ain't gonna lie to you, Yak. So we do have opinions on this offense. I think we all, based on our conversations throughout the day, AJ and Dre, we all have our criticisms of this offense. I'm sure they're going to go different routes. But we do have criticism of this offense. We can't ignore it, right? But I guess it depends on your level of crucifixion, and what that looks like. At the end of the day, appreciate you checking in and supporting the YouTube channel, man, for sure. 100% supporting Trap or Dive. We always appreciate that, man. Al 2 said, his one sentence takeaway is run the ball. Sean, long sentence. But no, I agree. In this. Let me get my one sentence takeaway. When there's a will, there's a way. And that defense, wow, it was not my intention to rhyme. So I'm gonna say it. When there's a will, there's a way. But this defense came to play today. Honestly, like, I think when you hold a team to 9 points throughout the entire game, it doesn't matter like how good or bad the opponent is. That was a very impressive way to close out a team. I think it was at one point I saw a graphic where they had in the second half allowed only 84 yards of total offense, forced 2 turnovers, and I think they ended the second half with like 3 sacks on Josh Dobbs. So that's my one sentence takeaway. I really liked how they responded to helping this team out and noticing like this offense really ain't getting it done, but we can do better up front. And they did just that. I do agree with AJ. Now I am the one, like, recklessness, like there's a difference between like playing fast and being reckless. And like they could have honestly got I forgot the linebacker that hit Sam Howell off rip, but he could have got ejected for that bullshit. Like that was something where it's like there's a difference, but they're playing fast and they're playing physical. And I think they really did try to set the tone. And I think they were successful with setting the tone. They won up front for a good portion of the game. Actually, to be honest with you, they won up front throughout the entire game. Like I told you all, AJ and Dre, like I don't know if we'll find out in a couple weeks if this offensive line for the Washington Commanders is as advertised in terms of poor or below average, or we'll find out if this defensive front for the Arizona Cardinals are better than we anticipated. We'll find that out soon. But I was really impressed by the Cardinals defense and how they stood up. But also, I think there was some other aspects of this offense that I think we can tap into. Dre, I want to give you the floor so we can close out the one sentence takeaways and just actually move on to the game.
I got one.
Hey, what's up with this man, Sean, dog? Like, you talking about Dre got a spider on his ceiling? Like,
hey, that's some attention to detail, but I don't know what's going on. That's
I'm
funny.
not at home, so whatever is on the ceiling, man, I can't control that, man. So, but yeah, man, I got one word, man, not one sentence, and it's exhausting because, it was a build up for this game. We were very excited, to get out there, see what this new look team, or at least this new, I guess, direction we're going in with ownership. We were so ready for this game. We thought this would be the game that we would come out fired up. Maybe we go out there, we win by a couple of scores. Then what does it turn into? It turns into the typical Washington drag it out game where you're fighting for your life to win the game. So, at the end of the day, man, I'm just exhausted, man. But again, like I said, you got to be happy with the win, regardless. It's the NFL, man. Wins never really come too easy unless you're a really, really good team. Washington, they haven't shown that they're that yet, or anywhere close to that. So you just got to take the wins as you can get them, man. Like I said, I know we were all ready to come out here and kind of, dominate the Cardinals, but shout out to them. Like AJ said, Gannon had them boys ready, man. Like they didn't lay down. I know a lot of people expected them to kind of, maybe people thought that they were tanking. A lot of us did think they were tanking. Right. They weren't going to come out and play so hard, but that wasn't the case, man. I mean, they were playing, early. They were hitting, like AJ said, but they were dirty. That was pissing me off a little bit because some of those hits was unwarranted, man. But I mean, that was them setting the tone. I guess they wanted to come out there and let you know, hey, we're not sweet, man. And, Commanders had to buckle up, man.
Mic check. AJ, can you hear me? And Dre? Because I know.
I can hear you. I can't hear Dre no more.
Okay, so all right. So let me get a mic check, Dre. Let me see if you still here. Right.
It says on mute. It says
right now you muted. Nothing. Like let me.
Hello, buddies. Hello, buddies. Hello, buddies. Hello, buddies.
All right, hey Dre, take your time, big dog. I think if anything, let's see if we can exit. If you can exit the studio and come back in and see if that'll work. Let's go ahead and kick things off with because look, it could have been a frustrating day, but I think let's start with the positive. Let's start on the defense side of the football. AJ, I think when you look at like from start to finish, there was some moments where you kind of figured out like, or you had a concern that maybe Josh Dobbs and this offense, like James Conner broke off a couple good runs, right? And I think he was clearly one of the bigger factors to this defense. I mean, excuse me, yeah. Hold on, let me add Dre. Here we go. Okay, I think he was one of the bigger factors to like keys to the game for this defense. And I think honestly, when you look at the grand scheme of things, he was probably their biggest threat. And it was for Washington being able to win early, like on those first and second downs. He really couldn't really get things going until they had that lead, that brief lead in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, with the defense, I think that they did a solid enough job. You probably would have wanted them to play the opposite of how the Cardinals defense played, a little bit more aggressive. You know, I didn't really. I guess we focus on positive, but yeah, they did a good job. Montez Sweat, you know, he had a good day. I think he had like maybe a sack or two.
Sack and a half. I think two
forced
fumbles.
Forced fumble. He definitely played good. Overall, Deron Payne had a big day. Jonathan Allen, he was able to get a sack, you know. So I feel like they played productive enough. Cam Curl was active in plays or whatever you would have liked to see him, Butler, and even Forbes in that last kind of drive. Like he cut off his man. That should have been a pick. Like there were a couple plays.
They dropped a couple picks.
Yeah, they should have had picks, but I mean, we gonna focus on the positives supposedly. So yeah, I mean,
man, say what you want to say. What you want to say, bro? Like, I mean, if that's if
oh no,
nah,
I mean, for me defensively, like
say,
I just would have liked to see the play calling be more aggressive going against Joshua Dobbs. I feel like we did see a couple blitzes from Jack Del Rio, but I want to see more aggressiveness. I want to see guys flying to the ball more. I want to see the linebackers, especially, you know, trying to make plays. Like, I mean, Cody Barton, like you stated, you know, throughout the preseason, it's still showing in the regular season with him. Like, Jamin Davis, they put him in a pass coverage situation, completely let his guy open on the sideline. Yeah, I mean, overall, defense played good. You know, they're going to have to step it up even more once they get against better offensive weapons and talent at that quarterback position. But, you know, we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, obviously the positives, man, was that damn second half. Like, I mean, because I was getting a little frustrated in the first half, even though, like Mual said, I mean, we didn't really allow a lot of points, but I still felt like the Cardinals, as AJ said, they played the way I wanted us to play, and as far as being aggressive and just flying around. But I felt like, you know, we weren't really dictating things early on in the defense. We were just kind of playing the bend but don't break defense, and then there were the drop picks. But again, that second half, those guys came out and they shut everything down for the Cardinals. Like, I think once you took that 17-16 lead, I don't think we ever felt really threatened that the Cardinals could, you know, beat the defense at any point. You know, you had it was able to give you a little bit more confidence in the offense, knowing how the defense was playing. I mean, that front four really started making, you know, some impact plays. I mean, your main guys, Deron Payne, John Allen was making plays, and Montez Sweat just had a monster of a game. I mean, he probably gets the game ball of the day for the defense. Then, you know, you got Emmanuel Forbes, like I said, that play at the end of the game, man, I really thought he was going to get that pick, man. I mean, he broke on that ball perfectly, undercut it. I mean, he looks like he's going to be ready, man. But I was a little, I was watching it a little bit to see, and I noticed they took him off the field a lot in the game. They had St. Just and Fuller as really the main corners, and I guess Forbes was mainly coming in on passing down, so that's something to kind of watch. But overall, like I said, you love how they responded in that second half, shutting that Cardinals unit down. After that score that the Cardinals had, there was really no more threat in that game. You know, but again, I wanted them to make Josh Dobbs a little bit more uncomfortable early, but like I said, you can't argue with the results. You can't be mad at what happened. You know, but again, overall, man, I thought it was, like I said, you know, or like Mual said, it was a great performance in that second half. And you got to, you know, take your head off to the defense, man, because they really stuck it through. And that's what really got us that W at the end of the day.
I think for me, and the reason why I guess I'm more adamant about like the outcome and production during the game is because I mean, you got to remember, like, Dobbs isn't anything to sweat at, right? Like, let's acknowledge that. Ain't nobody losing sleep over Josh Dobbs, but you talking about a 7-year veteran. He's going to have some type of experience in the NFL. Like, he's seen over 7 years, he's seen several different concepts that you can run and that you can prepare against, right? And I'm not making excuses I'm not even making excuses. Like, I'm more so just pointing out the fact that I think when you look at drives in a per drive basis, you're going to have moments where your defense is going to give up some yards here and there. And I think when it comes to the Commanders defense, like, you got to remember, there was a point in time where we're going to get to the offensive side of the football and like those miscues and mistakes and coaching decisions and actual individual performances. But you got to remember, at one point, the defense forced 4 straight punts. And maybe like 3 and outs, if I'm not mistaken. If not, like, they allowed 1 first down and then got the Cardinals off the field, like, and on 4 straight drives, and the offense didn't help them at all. And this was in the midst of them turning the ball over 2 straight times, and I think it would have been a 3rd time in a row if that interception wasn't caught by the defender when he misfired to Terry or something like that over the middle. But my point is, like, the ebbs and flows of a game, you're going to have an offense, especially with an experienced quarterback to some degree. And Dobbs, he's going to have some opportunities where he moves the football. The goal is to get them off the field. And I think that was the bottom line for me when I looked at it. Can you get these guys off the field? Did you have opportunities to create turnovers? They did. They dropped several of them. And I think that's the thing where we look at this and say, we could have had more turnovers. And I think when they look at the tape defensively, in the coach's room, you're going to see the fact that they're talking about the same thing that we're talking about right now. We played good, but we could have done much better because we had several opportunities. Cam Curl dropped the interception. Emmanuel Forbes dropped the interception at the end. And who was the other one that I'm thinking of that dropped the pick as well? Percy Butler. Percy Butler dropped the interception. So that's kind of where I'm looking at these things, and I'm saying they played a good game, and they played, honestly, a really good game. But it could have been a great game if they closed on those turnovers. But obviously, I mean, I give the floor to y'all, but I think the biggest thing as we transition to the other side of the football is the trenches up there. So I'll give the floor. If we got any last thoughts on the defense, we can kind of spin the block and go to offense.
Yeah, Mo, I was just going to say, for the defense, for me, and I guess it's the expectation that we have much higher expectations for this defense. Like, we've seen a good defense over the years, even though we had some slow starts. But at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, it's been a good defense. But it's time now we're expecting them to be a great defense. You know, I mean, you look at the defense. Yeah. One of the best defensive lines of football, supposedly. You boasted the secondary. You went out and drafted Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin because you want to turn the ball over. And then, you know, you're expecting more of this. And I guess the contrast for me was, yeah, we weren't doing bad, but I was watching the Cardinals force turnovers and get all of these sacks on Sam Howell. And I'm like, that's kind of what I'm expecting out of this defense. Not to say our defense is out there playing piss poor, but you just kind of expect more out of those guys just because that is supposed to be your high-end unit. But again, I mean, the second half, man, you got to give it to them because the second half, they played exactly how I expected them to play in a sense. Like, they weren't just good in the second half. They were great in the second half. And you're right. Like, throughout the ebbs and flows of the game, you're not going to get great play the whole time. You're going to give up some yards. You're going to give up plays here and there. But you just kind of want to see what you expect the defense that's supposed to be taking this step into that top 5 against a unit like the Cardinals, but a quarterback like Josh Dobbs, and then the rest of the guys is kind of inexperienced. They don't really have any star players on offense, so you just kind of expected them to dominate those guys a little bit more, like they did in the second half, which they did. So I mean, that was just the only thing. You just expect more out of this defense. But you're right. I mean, overall, it was a good performance, even in the first half. Like you said, they forced a lot of punts in the first half. They were getting off the field for the most part. But now we got to start closing on these turnovers. We got to start being that team that forces these turnovers. Like, I mean, we did it in the second half, but guys are dropping picks out there, man. We dropped 3 picks today. That's big, and that changes the whole impact of the game when you look back on it. So they're gonna still have to capitalize on those plays.
Any thoughts, AJ? Or we going O?
Man, let's get to this O. Let's get to this
Hey,
offense.
Let's do it. You haven't had to worry yet. I just spoke. Dre just spoke. I think biggest problem in today's debut for the Washington Commanders on the offense side of football. Let's go there and then unpack.
I think the biggest problem. Can y'all hear me? Just making sure.
Yeah, you good.
I'm not hearing anything in my AirPod anymore. But I think the biggest problem with the offense today, honestly, was you could see that Sam Howell struggled with the difference of the game speed from preseason to regular season. Like he wasn't necessarily processing things fast enough for me, for my liking. You could tell that he was overthinking it. At times he was holding on to the ball, or he wasn't stepping up in the pocket. He was just pretty much like stagnant, almost a statue in some sense in the pocket, which allowed him to get sacked. The offensive line isn't the greatest, but there's a combination, like Drake said, combination. There's a combination of reasons why the Cardinals had 6. I want to say they finished off with 6 sacks.
Yeah, 6 sacks. 6 sacks on the day on Sam Howell.
Which is insane, because not one person can name a human being on their front. Like, you can't name one person on their front, and they playing the 3-4. Like, not really supposed to be getting that type of sack production out of that without elite players as your pass rushers. But it's more so like, yeah, the offensive line just has to also do a better job, but Sam Howell has to be a bit better with processing the game and what's in front of him. That's one of my major takeaways. I didn't have an issue with, I guess some people would say, the lack of running the ball. I feel like Eric Bieniemy isn't truly a fan of his running back room. Some will disagree. But
I 100% disagree, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, in the first half, when you giving guys the ball and they running for 1-2 yards, do you really want to keep running the ball? Like, the best run in the first half came from Curtis Samuel, and we're gonna keep it a buck. Like, he had 1 carry for 6 yards, whereas like B-Rob, off the top of my head, he had 9 carries for 13 yards. Antonio Gibson had 3 for like 4 yards.
It was 10 first half carries. Gibson finished with 3 carries for 9 yards though. But honestly, bro, yeah, and the fumble. Sorry, that's important.
Yeah,
but I think
100%
very important context. And honestly, before we move forward, I do think when it comes to 6 sacks in a game, bro, there are so many different elements that goes into a person or to a team allowing 6 sacks. Like, we lived this last year with Carson Wentz when he had 9 sacks against the Philadelphia Eagles. All 9 weren't on Carson. And I think this is the same thing. Like, the last 2 sacks, I think, on Sam Howell, one was a play action, I believe, or maybe Brian Robinson coming out of the backfield and steps on Sadiq Charles. He ends up getting bull rushed. And then Nick Gates in a slide protection, a 3x2, where Schlereth broke it down better than I can, but Sadiq goes to help out his left tackle, and Nick Gates is in a no man's land. Ultimately, that 3 tech ends up pushing and penetrating the pocket. Sam Howell gets sacked almost instantaneously, like within a 3-second time period. Those are the last 2 sacks. The other 4, I would have to recall everything, but I do know, like, the biggest thing that you can't allow in terms of Sam Howell, you can't allow yourself to be so reckless with the football in your hand, which contributes to a sack fumble, which is ultimately the bottom line. Like, you can't allow that to happen. The pressure did get there really quickly, but it's on you at that point to protect the football. And Andrew Wiley getting beat. Matter of fact, that brings my memory. Andrew Wiley gets beat on an inside move, and that's 3 of the 6 sacks that contributes to this. And what is my point of like just bringing this all up? I ultimately think like there's so many different avenues. Like the bigger thing is probably to AJ's point. I agree with that. Sam was slow in processing some things. He almost got picked off like 4 times a day.
Bruh, he should have had crazy amount of picks because they legit were sitting on every single route short because of that. Like, they knew he wasn't processing the rest of the field.
And that's ultimately where I'm like, if there's anything to kind of identify, it's the offensive line having its issues against this Arizona front that, to AJ's point, is relatively unknown. And then you have Sam Howell, who is contributing to the hint. Now, let's acknowledge AG fumbled in the red zone. Logan Thomas dropped 2 passes that were very catchable for him, but also drive killers. Then we have John Bates, who is flagged for 2 holdings. No, excuse me, offensive pass interference, and then a holding while he's on the field on offense. Drive killers, man. And I think there was another hold. I think Andrew Wiley had a holding as well. And I think Sadiq Charles, which was a BS hold. I didn't think that was a holding. But like these drive killers, what am I missing? We talked about the interception, which is hard. Honestly, that's actually crazy. The one interception that Sam Howell, or the one interception that he threw, like, it was a tip pass. Like, you can't even get mad at that one, but you can point the other ones that should have been picks. So like, I think there's several different factors for why this offense was really struggling today. When you look at the front, the offensive line, and you look at Sam Howell, those are two issues that are separate but also intertwined in a sense. Dre, I want to give you the floor because you haven't spoke yet on the offense. Like, your biggest issue of the day.
I mean, yeah, there was a couple of different issues. I mean, I hate to, single one person out. I mean, because it's, especially the new guys like Eric Bieniemy, but I thought Eric Bieniemy could have been better. I know AJ says that, Eric Bieniemy doesn't like the running backs, but to your point, AJ, if that's the case, but he's watching Sam Howell go out there and struggle to process the field, as you say, then you have to try another option, because he wasn't even trying to establish the run in this game for the most part, like until later in the game. And that's when, we started to pretty much take over the game. I didn't think he did Sam Howell a lot of favors by dropping him back damn near every possession. It seemed like, Eric Bieniemy had an attack in mind, and I think he wanted to come out and he wanted to establish an identity of a high passing attack. But it just didn't look like Sam Howell was ready to take on that responsibility in this game. And that's when you get those running backs going. And Brian Robinson is the type of running back. He may not be a star in this league, but he usually gets better with the more carries he gets in a game. And it's hard to kind of set the tone when you're not really giving those guys the opportunity to do so. So I thought Eric Bieniemy, he could have called a better game. But again, it's game 1. You hope, that guys are going to get better as the season goes on. I mean, he's still dealing with a new team and all, so I'm not going to be too hard on him. I'm not upset about it or anything. I just noticed that as being an issue in the game. I thought he could have did more favors for the offense, especially when Sam started taking a lot of those sacks. He was starting to get beat up in the game. We were still just dropping him back to pass the ball. At some point you got to get those guys involved. I mean, Sam, Sam had a up and down day. I mean, he looked like a rookie quarterback in a sense. I mean, this is what you expect. I think a lot of people kind of expected Sam to kind of go out there and light the world on fire. I mean, we didn't see that today. He just looked like a guy that was inexperienced in this league. I mean, as you've seen, there were bad decisions. I mean, there were some plays that could have went really awful. Then there were some plays that went real awful. But then there were some plays where he was like, he bounced back and he didn't show that he was too flattered or too flustered. So, but again, you hope these guys get better as the season goes on. Eric Bieniemy with Sam Howell, as he learns his team and he learns what they can do more of, maybe he'll start to adjust the game plan and help guys out. And as that goes on, then maybe you can start passing the ball a little more once Sam Howell gets comfortable. But again, I thought Eric Bieniemy, he could have had a better day. I'm sure he will have better days, but that was one of my biggest concerns of the day.
Now, I will say, I know we were chatting in between the game. I don't like how they finish off the game offensively, and I know that's not Eric Bieniemy with those conservative play calls. I know that's Ron Rivera, and Ron has to trust Eric Bieniemy in those situations because
AJ, you gotta stop.
Nah, I know that wasn't Eric Bieniemy that ran the ball 3 times down there when they could have possibly scored, because we seen it at the end of the half, like how they got the field goal, like they drove the ball down with maybe 1 timeout to their disposal. That's an aggressive approach. That is what Eric Bieniemy is about. Like I feel like they should have been more aggressive towards the end of the game and tried to score a touchdown. In my opinion. Versus going up 4, I'd rather go up way more than that. But I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I guess we got different opinions when it comes to Eric Bieniemy. I felt like it was a okay play calling game. It's just at the end of the day, he's dealing with a lot at one time. Like you don't have an elite tight end, and there were opportunities for him, but he's also not very used to being a strong catcher. Like. When that contact was coming, he was getting thrown off his catch. We don't have Logan Thomas.
Continue.
Hey, man, I know you want to see Cole Turner. Hey, start playing him a little bit more. Because
I'm about to say, look, the one target he had, come on, bro. Well, he had 2 targets, but the one catchable target, motherfucker went up and got that jump, bro. But continue.
Yeah, man. I just want to see them be better. I want to see how Sam adapts to the speed, because it's not slowing down. This is their weakest opponent on their schedule. You know, they go up next week against Denver and their defense and their defensive coordinator. Then after that, you got Buffalo and you got Dallas. Like, it's not going to slow down. So you just want to see how they play overall. I can't really be too hard on Andrew Wiley. I know who he is. You feel me? He's mid.
Hell nah. No.
He's mid.
Nah. I mean, look, you can say, and I don't disagree with, like, yeah, we know who he is. But at the end of the day, when we look at the bigger picture, like, this offense can't be, again, one game, but this offense can't be successful if they continue to have, like, multiple weak links on the offensive line. I only have one thing to say about, like, this whole conversation, though. Al too was right. I'm not chasing any lost opportunities to score points towards the end of the game when we've seen how the game flow went. You're not protecting Sam Howell. You're not protecting Sam Howell from your offensive line standpoint. Sam Howell isn't getting the ball out quick enough on occasions, right? And then you're looking at the one instance, for example, when they ran the sprint out, and after B-Rob was toting and they started to find that rhythm on the ground game. And you run that sprint out with no play action, essentially, or a light play action that really didn't influence the defense at all. He's forced to throw it away. I just think ultimately, bro, when you're up, when you have that lead and you're in plus territory, and you know that your defense ain't giving up shit. Like, I'm not sitting here like worried about like deep shots, play action, attack on the second and third levels. Like, I'm not even worried about that. I'm worried about just getting out of here with the dub so we can move on. Like, Eric Bieniemy said it best before the game started. Sorry. What's today? Sunday. He said it like Wednesday or Thursday, whenever his pressure is. He said, look, man, we're just trying to find a way to survive each week together and move forward to the next week. And I think that's ultimately what could have happened, what should have happened. I think that's what did happen when you win 20-16 against a perceived terrible team. So that's kind of where I'm at, bro. I'm not chasing points and risking injury in the sense of like your quarterback being a sitting duck back there, which he does escape the pocket, but even still, injury from that aspect, a turnover from your quarterback, whether it's a fumble or an unforced error in terms of a pass, just move the ball. Get a ball to your boy B-Rob, man. Antonio Gibson, I don't know what you can do moving forward. It is one fumble, but it's not a good impression on Eric Bieniemy in your first official game with him as your OC.
That boy will never get another carry in between the tackles again. And you didn't see him get another carry after that. Like, you seen him in the screen game, but outside of that, because it's not even just Bieniemy. Like, that's his first fumble under Bieniemy. But under Ron Rivera, they didn't seen it They didn't see
1,000
it
times.
2 years ago. Yeah, some people say, oh, he only had one fumble last year. Well, that's because they took away his damn carries. And they took away the way that they used them in the run game. Like they had him run outside more so than inside in traffic. And you can't be giving up the ball in the red zone. Like we seen this happen against the Chargers 2 years ago.
I mean, Al, too, you're not wrong. It was a hell of a play by the Cardinals player, but I think that the main thing, and coaches would tell you this too, and I'm sure that like you got to think like the preseason game from last year. If you think about Antonio Gibson when he fumbled against the Panthers, we broke that down to infinity. Like there's a way, like they know how to protect the football when they're wearing angles like that, and it's not on us to know. But the players know they need to protect the ball at all costs. So he exposed the football for it to be punched out. It was he could have plucked it.
You talking about Sam Howell?
No, Al too was mentioning how the player, the Cardinals defender, punched the ball out on Antonio Gibson as he was going down. But I'm saying like there's just ways like you got to protect the football. That's not really an excuse. It was a hell of a play, but you can't expose the football like that.
Hey, man, we going to call it how it is on this side. On Trap or Dive side, we going to call it how it is. Ain't nobody about to sugarcoat anything, coddle anyone. Like, it is what it is. Like, and you are who you are. He's known for fumbling the ball. He can't run in between the tackles. One, because the lack of vision, as we seen him have a whole lane to cut to. He ran into his guard, ran into the back of his guard. And he has a fumbling issue. He doesn't know how to secure the ball. It is what it is. Like,
so Chase Young,
you give him carries, he's gonna fumble the ball possibly.
That's all you about to talk. So go ahead, you got the floor.
No, I was just gonna say he's really just paving the way for Chris Rodriguez to get that opportunity. I mean, as AJ said, this might be his first fumble under Eric Bieniemy. but the rest of the coaching staff, they've seen this side of the guy, and as we know, if this is his first impression on Eric Bieniemy and what was reported on the offseason that Chris Rodriguez was Eric Bieniemy's guy, he's going to start taking those carries, man. And, I don't know how they're going to use AG going forward, but I'm with AJ. You can't use him in between the tackles, man. You're going to have to start getting them out of space. And that was one of the things that I kind of was disappointed in Eric Bieniemy throughout the game because I didn't see a lot of creativity in trying to get these guys the ball like the playmakers in a sense. Even with Curtis Samuel, I thought maybe he should have got more of his little gadget plays, going. They didn't get a lot of that stuff going today. Maybe we'll see more of that going forward. But I wonder if
it was weather related, honestly, because it looked a mess, like AJ described, on and off. But when it rained, it fucking rained.
Right. So that could have had something to do with it. But again, man, AG, man, it's the time is coming, man. Like you can't putting the ball on the floor like he's doing, man. And it was hurt. They were on the verge of scoring. Who knows what happens if you score on that drive? But that's the type of stuff that happens when you put the ball on the ground, and he's known for doing that.
Yeah. I was gonna go Chase Young route, not about him in this game, but more so like how many more weeks do we have to wait? But I think they said like 2 or 3 more weeks. I more so think like defensively, they can definitely use some help on the outside to help go along with Montez. And I don't know if Montez really just took advantage of Arizona Cardinals offensive line or more so like he's actually going to be on one this year in terms of just closing out plays. But that's just a larger thought that we can have later in the week. Honestly, when it comes to this week 1 game, I don't have any other, matter of fact, let me double check, but I don't have any other angles where it's concerns or strengths. I honestly think that this game against the Cardinals isn't going to be an indication of anything moving forward, if that makes sense. Like, I think that what you saw from the offensive side of the football is that they are still developing. I don't know how, like, that offensive line and the 6 sacks that they allowed, there was several different reasons for that happening. So, like, is Sam Howell going to be able to improve from his mistakes, which is like he started off fast, but then had some inaccurate throws after he started getting hit a little bit. And that kind of hurt the offense. You had some receivers who had some bad drops. And then some penalties. Like, untimely penalties. So I don't know if that's going to be a continuation moving forward. You got to wait and see like how things stabilize as we move forward to Denver and then Buffalo and Philadelphia, respectfully, for those next 3 games. But then defensively, we don't know yet either. I'm still at a big I don't know for either side of the football. I do like one thing, and I'll close out on my side with this. That boy Jamison Crowder on special team, bro. I don't even want to see Dax Milne no more. I don't care how old Jameson Crowder is. I don't need to see Dax Milne no more, bro. Like, even with the mistake that he took, fielding the ball, I think it was his last punt return. He fielded the ball, and like as soon as he fielded it, he got hit immediately, but he bounced off and was able to make something out of nothing. Like, that wasn't the smartest decision, but he at least recovered and got it back to decent field position on that one punt return. But ultimately finished the day with we had. What was it? What in the world? It says he has 3 punt returns for 10 yards. He had a I don't, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. But his stats say 3 returns for 10 yards. So I actually don't know his true numbers. I wonder if it was a flag on one of them. Anyway, moving forward, I did like Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, I guess for me, my closing thoughts, man, Montez Sweat again. I mean, this is a guy, I've been kind of hard on him, and we all been kind of hard on him because, we expect more of him. Again, we had the conversation last week about, the difference between him and Chase Young, but we still had high expectations for Montez. And the thing is, he wasn't getting home, but he made big plays today, man. I mean, he's a big reason why they won this game today. I mean, you keep on putting up performances like this, you're going to start talking about paying him at the end of the season, So Montez Sweat, man, shout out to him, man. Game ball.
Yes, I'm gonna close on my side too. Game ball, Montez, but I forgot about that. That's my MVP for today's game. AJ, you got the floor.
I mean, I guess you won a game that you should have won. It shouldn't have been as close. I think the team could play more disciplined, but I feel like just across the league overall, like pretty much guys that had new starting quarterbacks or new offenses, they all kind of played slow today. They all had, hiccups in their game. I think how I want to finish this conversation on my end is Ron Rivera and company. Let Chase Young play. Like, there's nothing that you can do throughout the week to manage the contact in practice that will replicate a game. If it's going to happen, let it happen in the game. I mean, to cause chaos with him not playing after saying we're just waiting on him to be cleared by the doctor is insane to me. After he got cleared by the doctor, you then downgrade him to out. It's like, I don't really know what's going on there. John Kahn posted his article. He kind of got attacked or blitzed by some people in the fan base, whatever the case is. But let that man play, because the rotation outside of the opposite side of Sweat was non-existent pretty much all game. Like, James Smith-Williams didn't do anything. Tuhill didn't do anything. Andre Jones didn't do anything. I want to see Chase on the field. Like, I don't think this is strictly an issue with Ron Rivera and company. Chase wants to play. He's been cleared to play. I just want to see him out on the field. And I would be also interested when we come back and do the show. How many snaps did their second-round pick Quan Martin play today?
Oh, he actually got evaluated
on offense. On defense.
No, I'm saying he got evaluated for he got evaluated for a concussion. So I think he I don't know when he went out, but he went out. Yeah, he went out for a concussion.
I didn't even know.
So yeah, I about to say I don't know when it happened, but that's what happened. With him.
It had to have happened on special teams because it damn sure ain't happened on defense.
Hey man, listen, appreciate everybody who's checked into this point. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Kunal, I see you. Our D-line was good at shutting down the Arizona screen game. The Chase Young saga is a mess. Kenny said he agrees with AJ. Kenny, I believe this is your first time ever agreeing with AJ. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I appreciate somebody agreeing with AJ once a show. As long as we get there, man, I think we're in good shape.
Hey, AJ doesn't even care. third person for you.
But Kunal said game ball is trustworthy as always. We got to change that. That is I don't blame game ball cool, but we got to play better because Trust Way getting game balls is ridiculous. All right, schedule wise, we'll be back Tuesday. Finishing out the week 1 stuff before we move on to week 2 on Thursday and get ready for the Denver Broncos. Again, appreciate everybody who tuned in to this day, man. Enjoy y'all Sunday. The rest of y'all Sunday, man. It's still football long, bro. So we out here. Y'all take it easy. So look, Drake couldn't even wait, bro. He couldn't even wait for us to close out. He said he's going back to football, bro.
He was trying
but yeah, y'all be easy. Take it easy.
That spider on the ceiling, like whoever
that was
Anderson said earlier.
Well, hopefully you get it, bro. Don't get hurt in that room, Drake. But yeah, y'all be safe, man. Peace.